graphics line, so I need to press key 1 to be able to use it. So right now, that's not necessary. So right there, my graphic wasn't there, so I didn't, it took me a second to look at it. I realized, okay, well, DPM doesn't need to be pushed on, that's why it was gone. And that got turned on when I see some kid will hit DPM right there. You'll get DPM, and all of a sudden, it'll ask you why the graphics aren't there, and you'll stare at it, and you won't know. So you need to make sure that, well, you don't need the DPM on. So one suggestion with this is when you guys sit down and play with this and do heavy sessions on it, it's not a bad idea to just punch a bunch of buttons and then teach yourself to get back to it. So like, and you don't even have to set it yourself. You can just like, Leah can walk away and Matt can punch some buttons and Leah can walk back and get it back to our default settings. And it's a good idea to do that. So as I was saying with graphics, 2 different ways you can do it. So when I hit key 1, what it did was, so I'm on my program there. When I hit key 1, it automatically added that graphic to my source, my program source. And so now I can bring it in and I can fade it out and all that stuff. But what it does is it kind of locks me out of this utilizing the preview window there. So what I typically did was, if you just leave both of them on, what that allows you to do is it kind of like leaves our graphic locked on in the preview there. I can adjust whatever source I'm using, and then I can fade it in and fade it out and still keep utilizing that. So sometimes I want to bring in a graphic, I want to leave that graphic there and maybe cut to another camera while I have that graphic, say it's some steps or something, and we want to leave that graphic up. So by not locking myself out of the preview window, I can pick a new source, I can cut into that source while keeping that graphic, pretty self-explanatory. And you just want to make sure that when they actually utilize the fader bar, that typically they're going with the preview and program sources that match. So I know that like if I'm on camera 2, I'm going to want to fade that out and keep my source there.
And then how do you just lose the graphic when you're done with it?
If you want to get rid of it entirely, you just hit background. So I mean, you can be like, oh, we're on camera 3, I want a graphic with it, I hit key 1, it automatically matches it with it, bring it in, take it out, nice simple stuff. I just want to make sure before I start flipping stuff.
How do you just cut to a graphic? Just cut the graphic in from the preview?
Right here, use it as a source. So you can put CG in the preview, and then you can cut to it by hitting the program bus key.
So you do a full screen graphic.
Well, what if you just want to cut in like a lower thirds graphic and keep, camera 3, camera 2, whatever up there?
Oh, okay, that's what you're saying. So you can have camera 3 in there, and you just hit this cut key.
Oh, okay.
So, it looks nice we fade in, but yeah, if you want to just do
so
just hit cut
if the
key.
CG is in the preview and you cut to it, it's gonna cut to it and keep the background.
Well, it's gonna keep whatever I have there. So say I'm on camera 3 and you want to cut in, and right now 2 is on my preview.
Right.
And you hit cut, it's gonna cut all of it. That's one of the situations where you either just make sure that we're lined up properly, or if you just simply don't have both of these functions on. If you have just key 1 on.
Right. So basically, just make sure you've got the same camera selected in the preview with
and then when you cut it, it jumps right over.
Okay.
So yeah, there's the cut button there. It's the same as just utilizing just these buttons right here, if however you want to teach it. But yeah, the cut button there. You got your fader bar. And like I said, you can either just leave both those on. I found that easiest for students was I taught them both the ways, 2 or 3 ways, and then I just it seemed to be easiest for kids to utilize where both were on, and they can keep using the preview window while they're using the graphics. If anything ever goes real haywire, like at the end, typically kids will mess up at the end.
Never let them switch live. Always preview.
Yeah. Yeah, they should really get ahead of switching from preview instead of live. Sometimes at the end, kids will kind of freak out with like the show titles up there and they need to fade everything to black. That's another thing, that utilizing both of these options when you're fading out and show title at the end, because I can use the preview window, I can put black in preview and I can just fade all the way out. It's nice and simple. That's why I typically told the kids just leave both those functions on. Otherwise, it's a little more messy if you're doing that. But like
it
Eric
goes
just
on all
said,
the time throughout the entire production. Is what you're saying?
I typically did, but I also
Okay.
let the students do whatever was best for them. Like
Alright.
this is how I would do it. But some kids don't like seeing, even though it's just a graphic right there, they don't like seeing it. It freaks them out, so they have it on background. But now, if I'm on camera 3, time for show title, I hit key 1. Whoop.
That film's back.
Aha. So, anyways, I hit key 1, I bring the show. To fade to black is not quite as simple as I would like. So they would have to like fade it out, background black, fade. Or like Eric said, there's the oh shit button. Right at the very bottom right, we have a automatic fade to black. It's the oh shit button, or an automatic cut to black. So at the end, sometimes kids will be freaking out, there's so much going on. Just let them know that if they accidentally hit key 2 and it looks weird and we just need to close the program out, the oh shit button in the bottom right. Nice and safe.
And then at the end, the oh shit button, there's any reset that needs to be done, or is it just...
No, you just press it. Really, it's just oh shit. You'll see it's flashing, so you just.
So if you don't have B, D, G, and key 1 selected, you can't just, and you've got a chyron up on top, you can't just fade to black straight away from.
If I have
preview.
just key 1 on.
Yeah,
So
you're gonna
you're
have to fade the chyron out and then fade.
Yeah, in order to fade to black from here,
That's
it's nice
stupid.
and easily. I would either hit fade to black, the oh shit button, or I would have to.
But if you have both of them
fade,
selected.
background fade. Yeah. So
both
if
selected,
I
you
have both
can
of them
just-
selected.
So with both selected, it basically treats it as one image. Where if they're not,
Yes.
then okay,
And it's like I said, for me it was always just made more sense just leave them both on.
right.
Some students are not going to like it, and that's fine, as long as they are succeeding in what they're trying to, make happen.
Okay.
So.